This is Jonathan Agger here for Pro Boxing Fans. I'm delighted to be joined by the former super middleweight champion of the world, George St. Groves. Here at Wembley Arena, we've just seen David Avanesyan beat Liam Taylor in 2 rounds. George, what do you make of it?
Great performance from David Avanesyan. It's just too much for him, you know. Just looked too strong, hit too hard. As soon as he landed, the fight swung drastically, obviously in his favour. Taylor's approach, you can't really say that he did anything wrong. It's just that he couldn't match the firepower of Avanesyan, and he got caught. People could say it was slightly too soon on the stoppage, but I think it probably would have come at some point. So good call from the ref, from my point of view, and I think Avanesyan now shows that he's definitely a world level fighter. He's consolidated the European title, but deserves a run out against one of the big boys.
Do you have anyone in mind you'd love to see him fight? We looked it up earlier. The 3 champions, obviously, you've got Spence, you've got Crawford, and Usyk, who beat Pacquiao recently, who boxed really well. I'm not sure he beats Usyk. He definitely, from what I've seen of him, doesn't really compete with Spence or Crawford. But he's a tough guy. He definitely hits hard, and then he makes a fantastic fight against the likes of Porter, Thurman. Who else is there out in the welterweights? Those sort of not even gatekeeper, those champions in and amongst it. Yeah.
So at the moment it's a tough division for him. I can't see him picking up a belt in this current climate, but he's a handful. He's beyond domestic level, certainly.
Who else stood out for you on the undercard tonight?
No one as much as Avanesyan. Obviously, he was a class above tonight. I was happy for Brown to get the win. He's a former sparring partner of mine. Felt we had to dig deep, and it was a battle of wills. At some point, throughout the fight, but he kept loose. He stuck to his task, and I think we learn a lot from this fight. If he goes back and dissects it and realises, where his foot positioning was, where his weight was, he punches loose, but he wasn't generating any power because his feet weren't attached to the floor properly. He needs to be a little bit more solid from the waist down, hinge from the hip better. There's a few things that he can definitely work on, and I believe that he will go on to the next level after this fight. So great for him. Ebony Jones, first I've seen of her, gave her a lot of hype, but interesting fighter, exciting fighter to a certain, exciting fighter in that she's got a lot of support. She's up for it. She speaks well. Who else was there? So that was a great show. Good show to start off this new era for Sky.
George, a couple more whilst I have you here. We saw Anthony Joshua lose to Oleksandr Usyk last Saturday night. What did you make of Usyk's performance?
Usyk. I've always been a fan of Usyk. I watched him when we both went in this World Series together, World Boxing Series, and he was the cruiserweight, obviously the #1, and just beat everyone, beat the champions, picked up all the belts, unified division, completed boxing, had to move up to heavyweight, and I always thought he'd be a handful of heavyweight. I've been beating the drum for Usyk for a couple of years now. I'm going to be honest, I didn't convincingly pick him to beat Joshua. I thought Joshua was the favourite, and I thought Joshua catches him, he'll beat him. We won't know enough about Usyk, but stuck to his guns, boxed brilliantly, so sharp off the southpaw stance. He cuts out to his right, which is a dangerous move, for any fighter. But he does it, he'll touch you until he knows the exact distance. Then he puts a little bit more power on it. He never overcommits. Great ambassador for the sport. I think he's hilarious. He's brilliant inside and outside the ring. Phenomenal talent. Now we don't have to see him juggle anymore. He doesn't need to do them silly. He doesn't need to sell it that way. He sells it with. He's the undisputed heavyweight champion. He's got his unified heavyweight champion. What a man! I want to be his friend. I'm going to learn Ukrainian just to talk to him.
George, we know they're going to rematch some point next year. How different do you see the rematch? I know it's early to say, but do you see a different Joshua in the rematch?
He'll have to make changes. He might bring in a new coach or a whole new team, or he might do nothing. He seems like being a fiercely loyal chap, and I definitely appreciate that. Loyalty in boxing is hard to come by. At the same time, if he's hungry to win back his belts, he's going to have to make some huge changes, and I don't know what that means. It's up to him to work that out internally. But out of the two fighters who come away after the boxing, I think Usyk's the one who's probably going to improve from it. You know, in the rematch we'll see a better Usyk, and it's just whether Joshua can compete with that better Usyk. I'm not so sure. But it's heavyweight boxing. One punch can change everything. He's still been there, dug deep, come back from adversity, Joshua. So you never write him off.
It's a week to go until Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder go at it for a third time. Do you see this different from the first two fights? Do you see it the same as the second fight?
I see it different. Why not go for the upset? You know, Wilder, he looks a different man. I can confidently say that I don't believe he was in the right frame of mind for the rematch, where he got beaten pretty badly by Fury. He looked really light. He looked agitated. You know, he was gun shy. He can't let his hands go. He couldn't detonate that right hand, which is an equaliser punch. If he lands that on anyone in the world, it's a game changer. But he seems in a better headspace right now, and that could spell danger for Fury. You know, for the first time in forever really, that we saw Fury dominate off the front foot as a big, tall, 6'9", 19 stone, solid unit, which he did against Wilder. And if he does that again and comes out with that same mentality and that same force and spite, it's going to be tough for Wilder to give away 3 stone in weight and be able to get his shots off. But he's a big dude, he's loose, he's fast, he's got that equaliser power. Why not? Yeah, why not just throw that into the mix and we see a fourth one?
2 more predictions. Just announced Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter is on Sky Sports on November 20th. How do you see the fight going?
I see Crawford winning. You know, it might take a couple of rounds for the fight to settle, especially Porter can be, he punches from his ankles at times. He loses his footing, but he's such a powerhouse fighter that it might take a little while to settle and find the range for each fighter. But I think Crawford is a class act, just a genuine class act. You know, I remember seeing him fight over in the UK against Ricky Burns at lightweight. You know, it's phenomenal that he's gone up to welterweight and he's competing with the likes of Shawn Porter. And he's probably he is the best, if not, the argument's there for him and Spence, but the best for a lot of people, best welterweight in the world. And I say Porter. I sparred Porter as an amateur in Texas, going back 15 years, probably close to 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was in the Junior Olympics in Texas. I was a middleweight. He was like a light middleweight, and he was a handful back then as well. And I tried to put him in his place. I mean, I didn't have a lot of skill then, just a lot of brute force. I tried to bash him into his box, but he wasn't having any of it, and he was swinging back at me. I remember then meeting his dad, who was his trainer, and Shawn kept an eye on him as years went by. We boxed on a card together in San Jose in California as well, and just to see that guy almost come down in weight to get down the welterweight, and Crawford come up from lightweight. It's bizarre, but brilliant.
Do you have anyone else you've sparred that people might not have expected?
I think, and I might be wrong, I had a gym bout with Kevin Mitchell when I was about 10 years old. I remember that because I was a big kid, you know what I mean? I was like a featherweight, went in schools at featherweight, and I think I was a lot bigger than this little dude from West Ham who was a really good fighter and could whack a bit. And maybe someone will correct me and go, no, it was someone else, but I think it was years later I puzzled it together and thought, I think that might be Kevin Mitchell. So he definitely hit with a big left hook, and that was one of Mitchell's punches back in the day, I'm sure it was. So he went on to win an ABA title and have a successful pro career as well, and now he's a trainer. I'm not even sure I spoke to Kevin about that, so I need the proof, but I might have to try and tie it in, but yeah, that's the best I can get off the top of my head.
George, really appreciate your time. I know there's people waiting. Just lastly, talk us through your work with the Dale Youth. I believe you're there every Sunday.
Yeah, I try and get down the amateur gym on a Sunday. I missed last week. I was